How are you doing today, my friends? The war in the Ukraine is a major disaster. It's going to be the biggest disaster in the history of the United States of America. All the propaganda, all the news that are coming out is full of lies, and they bank on only 1% of Americans understands what the military is all about. The war in the Ukraine has to do with it's an artillery warfare, driven by the artilleries, the tanks, and mechanized divisions. And it requires a huge amount of 150 millimeter ammunition. Russia is producing right now 650,000 rounds of 150 millimeter ammunition. The Ukraine is not capable of supplying that, neither is the United States and NATO forces. Currently, also, the Ukrainian Air Force has been completely destroyed by the Russians. All the other news that we're getting are pure propaganda. Just look at the facts. Poland has offered to give, they didn't specify how many planes it was. They were going to provide the Ukraine Air Force with some additional jet fighters. Unfortunately, if you dig a little further, those jet fighters are MiG-29 aircraft from the Soviet areas, MiG-29s. And those MiG-29s are 30-year-old technology, similar to the F-16s that we have heard that Zelensky in the Ukraine is requesting to be provided with. And that absolutely, the numbers that we're hearing about, the possibility they would get is about 8 to 10 F-16s. In terms of the tanks, Germany is not prepared to issue any more tanks. They don't want to give you their Leopard tanks for the simple reason they have a lot of sensitive technology, so they have to build new ones that don't have that sensitive technology. In case the Russians capture it, they'll have access to the latest technology, NATO technology. The same thing applies to the American Abrams tanks. We can't give to them or transfer new Abrams tanks with the latest technology or specific helicopters or the latest technology in the F-16s. The F-16s require a tremendous amount of technology or muscle memory. So those Ukrainian pilots are accustomed to fly Sukhois. They're accustomed to fly MiG-29s. So if you switch them over and try to teach them to fly F-16s of the latest technology in the United States, they won't be able to readily utilize or fly those planes, but they'll make a lot of mistakes because muscle memory will direct them to go to the more familiar Sukhoi or MiG-29 jet fighters. So we do know that for all intents and purposes, that's going to fail miserably, and it really won't work. We have Ukrainian pilots that are here in the United States, and they're teaching them how to fly those F-16s, but there's no way they're going to be able to handle it. But for the simple reason, this is also old technology, so that's already a failed technology, and that's going to fail miserably. The smartest way to give to those Ukrainians would be the familiar aircrafts like the MiG-29 and the Sukhois. But there's not sufficient of those type of military capitals to provide to them. So basically, do not believe what the Western media, what our media is telling us here in terms of all the news televisions, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. They have lied to us. Right now, they're requesting, the Biden administration is requesting that American taxpayers give him an additional $300 billion to replace $113 billion of damaged military equipment, meaning there's a shortfall of $187 billion. So where the hell is that $187 billion going to? Who is going to benefit from it? So we are being lied to, we are being deceived to by our politicians again and again. We were told initially that we should provide Ukraine $53 billion, which both The Republicans and the Democrats agreed with the Biden administration, and now we're finding out that they deviously provided the Ukrainians an additional $60 billion that we weren't even aware of. I think it's about time we phone our congressmen and we phone our senators and let them know that we have major problem here in the United States. The war in the Ukraine is a regional tribal warfare between the Russians and the Ukrainians that are of same ethnical groups. What we need to do, we need to encourage them to sit at the table and negotiate a peace treaty. When we listen to Senator Graham from South Carolina talking foolishly that we shouldn't back down, that we see Russian jet fighters flying over the Pacific Ocean, then, we should shoot them down, or anywhere. We should shoot them down. Does Senator Graham realize that that would be a declaration of war? The Russian won't back down, neither will the Americans back down. So that means we'll go for all-out warfare, and you won't hear Senator Graham anymore because we'll all be dead. What the hell is he thinking, that idiot? He never served 1 minute in the military like most of us guys that did. He doesn't understand the military strategy. I can hear that very quickly. He can talk as much as he wants, but on the other hand, we're all going to be casualties of that stupidity. On the other hand, we still have to negotiate the new nuclear treaty, which is going to end in 2025. Now, the original treaty that we negotiated is expiring in 2025, when Ronald Reagan negotiated that with Russia, with Gorbachev, under the perestroika, when they were trying to reform Russia. So realistically right now, we are faced with a very serious issue, and that issue is we have a bunch of stupid politicians that are making irrational decisions, and they're selling it to the American public, and only 1% of American people now have served in the military, as opposed to a few years ago when 35% of Americans have been exposed to the military. So we understand that this is a bunch of crap. It's basically all not well thought of, and we are going to get ourselves into a situation where no parties are going to back down. China, Russia, and the United States. And when that happens, we're all finished. Have a good day.